This is a historic molding profile. It was found at the top of a chest of drawers made in Connecticut by Brewster Dayton around the time of the American Revolutionary War. Now, why should you care about this? Because we're going to use this example to learn how to make just about any molding you can find or even design yourself with common router bits. The first step is to sit down with a drawing of your molding and break it down into its individual shapes. No matter how complex, it always comes down to a collection of coves, beads, and fillets or flats. So let's look at what bits I would need to cut this molding. I can cut that little bottom cove with a core box bit. I'll use a bullnose bit for the bead above it, then another core box bit for the big cove. Above that is an ogee. I cut the bottom convex curve with a roundover bit, and then the concave curve above that with a core box bit. And that little bead on top can be finished off with another roundover bit. There is one problem though. There's no way I can raise my router high enough for the bit to be able to reach the cut in these situations that I've laid out. So I'm going to break this down even further into layers. I can actually cut the molding into smaller manageable slices, route all the profiles, and then glue it back together when I'm finished. As long as each layer is made from the same material with the same color and grain, nobody will know it wasn't carved from a single piece. The first bead is cut with a 1/4 inch bullnose bit. This layer will only have to be 7/16 of an inch wide, but I'm working with a wider piece of mahogany for safety. I'll trim it once the profiles are cut. The next step is to trim back one of the tongues left by the bullnose with a straight bit. Then I'll cut a little cove on the bottom with a 3/4 inch core box bit. That's it for this layer. So I trim it to its final width on the table saw. The next layer has a big cove on it. I do have a big core box bit to cut that with, but just barely big enough. Otherwise, I'd have to cut it on the table saw. This is also an elongated cove, so as I cut it, I raise the bit gradually upward, stretching the cove shape. Next comes an ogee, which is cut in two parts. First, I use a 7/8 inch core box bit, raising it incrementally just as I did with the larger cove. Then, to finish the ogee, I need a roundover bit. The final layer is only 3/16 of an inch thick, and it gets a bead on top from a roundover bit. That's it. Time to put our molding together. I also don't glue all the layers up at once. I add one layer at a time, let it dry about an hour, and then I add the next. And here's our final molding. At full length and attached to the top of a cabinet, it would be a near perfect representation of Brewster Dayton's 18th century design. The sky's the limit once you realize you can make almost any profile that you can draw with common router bits.